What did you say just now? After hearing some surprising news, Kari Shinohara quickly turned around. An easygoing person by nature, she rarely ever moved so fast. She'd been preparing her presentation handout in the underground student lounge, a junior majoring in Japanese Lit in a so-called private megaversity in Tokyo. She was 21 this year. She would be taking more and more seminars as a junior and was busy skimming literary journals in search of material for her presentations. Their quality depended solely on the time and effort put into them, so unlike with tests, cramming all night didn't work. Akari couldn't stand the thought of embarrassing herself in front of the whole class, but also enjoyed contemplating interesting pieces of literature. She made steady progress in her studies every day. It was winter. In the lounge with its chilly vinyl flooring, she was composing a handwritten handout like always, when she overheard some unexpected news and couldn't help but ask. I said, Sasaki in British and American Lit is getting married. But isn't she the same age as us? Yeah, but she wants to get married as soon as possible, ASAP. And it's not because she got knocked up or anything. She's gonna have this ceremony. Ceremony in Hawaii. And then she's taking a year off from college and coming back to school the year after that, before seminars start up again. Okay, well, clearly, we're back into Akari's perspective, which is completely different from the movie. The second chapter was pretty close to the movie, kind of. There's actually a lot more scenes that are different, but more or less the same in terms of like the dreams and archery and like other imagery in the rocket. But the third chapter, I mean, the first and third chapter are also supposed to be in the main male lead's perspective, but in this book, it appears to be the first and third chapter, or is in the female character's perspective. So it's going to differ greatly from the movie, probably. Especially since, at least in the movie, the third chapter, Akari didn't really have much interaction with, I already forgot the guy's name. Is it Tadaki? Yeah, there's not going to be much interaction between the two. In the movie, there wasn't. So, this is, unlike the first chapter where they did have some interaction, so there was bits and pieces of the movie in there. Third chapter is probably going to differ greatly. Hey Jana and hey Soulful, hope both of you are doing well. I'm just trying to take ASMR tag, but we're just reading like normal, like most Thursdays, sorry. Alright. How luxurious. One of Akari's major friends chimed in enviously. Another girl, staring through the foggy window and into the winter sky. Mother that she wished she could go to Hawaii too. But she's barely over 20, Akari said, taken aback. So, I mean, it's surprising since she's still in school, but it's not that uncommon our age. Very soon, it won't be weird for us to think about. You've never thought about marriage before, Aka? No, never. The conversation then shifted to the groom-to-be, but Akari had stopped listening. Wow, I'm old enough to get married without it being weird. When did that happen? It was a completely unreal idea that was oddly affecting. She felt a bit dumbfounded. As a kid, never even imagined that I'd be old enough to marry one day. The simple act of living used to terrify her beyond belief. Life only got easier with each passing year. How funny. For a moment, Akari reflected back on her childhood. She used to feel convinced that no one would ever love or accept her. She'd been absolutely sure. Something must have happened to flip her perception of the world. Right, that boy had made sure she was okay. The gas stove's quiet crackle suddenly caught Akari's attention. I wonder how he's doing. She began to think about the boy from her distant... What's this? there's like a paper thing. Or something blocking the word. Huh? She began to think about the boy from her distant memories. Hadn't she stolen something vital from him on that wintry day? She couldn't describe it well, but something like the strength you need to survive. Back then, they huddled together, each of them only half a person, sharing one person's strength between the two of them. They were somehow able to live. So on cue. Oh no. Mr. Reading, she's already getting married? Girl was in 5th grade for like 10 chapters. No, so full. Yeah, the second chapter was very close to the story. It's just, it talked about Tadaki, the main male lead's perspective. Just at his like school life in high school and basically how he feels. He's basically was in a rather rural countryside area attending school and didn't really feel like it felt kind of trapped there, and he had like dreams about, he had like very wishful, hopeless romantic like dreams of like a certain girl appearing in his dreams, and he did meet like a love interest there technically, or she was interested in him, but he didn't want anything to do with it really, but enjoyed being friends with her. And ultimately after graduation, I believe the male lead decided to move back to Tokyo, or move to the city basically, after, and then just leave the countryside because he believes that's what he needs to do basically. He's weird. And then now we just got back to the girl's perspective, the main girl's perspective in the 3rd chapter, and she's just talking to her friend and about how their classmate's getting married, and she's thinking about marriage too, but she doesn't have a significant other yet. Maybe? I'm not sure. We're still reading it. Loaf notes? Oi. I mean, it's not too good of a spark notes. It's been a while. Of course, there was much more than that. I mean, I always save these as highlights, by the way, they're reading. Let me seem to only take L's. I mean, he did have someone very interested in him, but he was like, nah. Probably still thinking about Akane or the childhood female friends. Alright, that's gonna read it. Right. Everyone gets frustrated when things aren't ideal, but you can't expect people to be perfect. Normal relationships should be based on realistic standards, but you're basically forgiving in the way you try to grade me off some biased system where anything that's not perfect gets a failing mark. It's just not a fair way to judge people, am I wrong? Takaki Tono said to the woman. Okay, we're back to Takaki. The main male lead, Takaki, was 21 years old, and it was almost the end of winter. He studied analysis at the School of Science at his university, to which he traveled on foot from his place in Ikebukuro. Earlier that year, he had started a part-time job as a teacher at a cram school. There, he had fallen for a woman his age and begun a relationship that was now about to end. I believe this is him, this opening line, this like Takagi telling about how he feels about the relationship. She had felt special from the moment he met her. Takagi had no trouble understanding the part of her that she carefully tucked away and that no one else ever understood. The first time he laid his eyes on her, a tornado swept through his heart. Nearly every bit of him seemed to spin violently, and his very sense of self got entangled in it. The noise that had accumulated in him was shredded, gone. The eye of that storm invited him in. There in the calm, under a spotlight, was the very core of his existence. He touched it. Takaki intuited that she felt the same way about him. What the heck, Sofu? No, Sofu, you do you, Sofu, take care of yourself. Yeah, hope things are cool with you, or good with you there. And this part kind of makes me sad. I'm like thinking about like, when you like get... Now, I mean, I guess I have fell in love, but I've never like been in a relationship. But like, during that moment when you fall in love, and then when you get into a relationship, and then like the first like few months maybe, it's like the honeymoon phase, right? They feel excited getting to know them better, getting to know who they are, hang out with them, so on and so on. And experiencing new things with them while learning new things about them. But then eventually, right? But once you like learn all you want to know, learn about them, it gets kind of boring, right? You kind of like fall out. You might fall out, or you just don't really like. I mean, it says it right here. She had felt special from the moment he met her. Like that is a very like special or exciting moment. When you first meet someone and get to know them. After that like honeymoon phase, it just after committing that much time to them, you start questioning the relationship. I mean, it's not always like that, but it is something that I'm kind of scared of. Both in the romantic relationship and in just friendship in general. Joe, you're getting banned for that. But yeah. Like now that I know that Mofu's like big stinky, I don't want anything to do with Mofu anymore. Alright, Mofu, I'm banning you. I'm kidding. But that's something I'm scared about. But hey, I've known Blue for like so long. I've known some friends for so long, and we still hang out quite. Well, actually, not really. I mean, it's mainly just Blue, to be honest. Thankfully, we haven't fell apart completely. Alright. They had met their other halves, as you did only once in a lifetime. They were sure of it. Like castaways coming across fresh water, they satisfied their mutual thirst. When they couldn't meet, they missed each other so badly that their hands trembled. Their hearts shook, as if about to come undone. Takaki could feel her longing for him, and knew that she felt his longing for her too. They could sense each other's feelings almost fully, without depending on unreliable words. For a stormy month, they craved one another. After exactly 1 month, as if with calculated precision, those feelings turned into hate. They despised each other. In the 2 months that followed, Takaki mastered to a frightening degree the art of inflicting emotional damage. Certain approaches could cut deeper than any direct insult. Listing up things about her that she was well aware of, but unable to fix, as if she weren't aware of them at all, for example. Unfortunately, I feel like this in more of a longer time span. I think my parents are kind of like or just some couples do, or parents. Guys just start complaining about each other. I'm not sure why. But yeah, that's basically what I was saying earlier. I'm just I hope this never happens to me. I mean, I'm scared of I'm scared of getting into relationships, both romantic and friendship. Alright. Oh wait, Blue, have you watched 5 centimeters per second? If you watched a movie, then you didn't actually miss that much. Or I mean, it's basically the same thing, but like a different perspective here and there. But you've never watched a movie, then rip. And yeah, it might be hard to understand. Good luck searching up the time. Good luck searching the synopsis. And so for your banned for describing like that. Have you Sparkle? Alright. The woman had an illness where she needed to keep her medicine on her at all times. On a number of occasions during her bouts, Takaki had to bring her pills and a glass of water to her lips. The first time they made love, he was shocked to discover how skinny she was. "You sure not just skin and bones?" he joked. She made a straight face and went silent. "I only have about half of all my organs." "How about your brain?" That was the first time anyone's ever asked, she replied dryly. A relieved smile appeared on her face. Half of my organs went to my conjoined twin sister when we were separated as kids. Takagi contemplated this for a bit. He was fairly confident in his ability to figure out people's childhoods and hadn't pegged her as someone with a twin sister. Really? He asked. She giggled. Just kidding. I've got the full set. They clearly hated each other, but continued to date. They just couldn't resist meeting up, one-on-one, fully aware that they'd be hurling hurtful words at each other. Despite all the loathing, both of them were in desperate need of a partner. They were hoping to be babied, if only in their savage manner, as Takagi realized much later. It was when a person meant nothing at all that you would go ahead and be totally generous. However, neither of them could withstand such torture yet. For Takagi, finding flaws in her was like child's play. They were simply the traits he didn't want to accept in himself. He just had to hide his ugliness and foist it on her. On the day he decided against ever meeting her again, he tried a line he kept in reserve until then. By the way, where's your twin sister now? ... Do I have to know? It was snowing. Nifty boy. So this one. I mean, I already mentioned it. Willing to commit to a friendship is scary to me because I'm scared I'll be obsessed over them. And I kind of want to control them. I might control them and get mad at them if they aren't able to free up time for me and be the way that I want them to be. Because I've experienced that, as in I was the aggressor. And I feel really bad, and I don't want that to happen again. Scared of committing to something like a friendship. But the problem with, in a romantic relationship, it's kind of normal, right? To depend on each other and feel that need for one another in a romantic relationship. That's why I don't think I can't imagine myself getting in one. I feel like it'll be super like casual if I were to. So I'll be too scared to depend on them. And just people in general. No, Rip Eggy. Relationship Eggy? Oh, of course you would think that's soulful. I think you're getting crying right now, bad, aren't you? Yo, you're mad sus. After studying for the entrance exams for months and months, Akari Shinohara managed to pass them and to become a college freshman when she was 19. In other words, she got in on her first try. She went through the university's front gates, which were flanked by large cherry trees, for her proverbial passage under the blossoms. Tiny petals, almost pure white, were fluttering down. Ah, freedom. Akari was ecstatic. She had spent an entire year serving the banner of entrance exams and put off many things. For the very first time, she rented an apartment and started living on her own. It had been her dream. Although they quarreled about it, her mother knew that commuting every day from Iwahune, Tochigi, to Tokyo was impossible, and eventually gave in. Akari was fairly pleased with her apartment. The building was made of wood, but clean inside to appeal to female college students. Her unit featured what qualified as a bay window, and the door had more than one lock. It was even close enough to walk to school. Sometimes she cooked for herself. Sometimes she just skipped a meal. She woke up and went to bed when she pleased, without anyone telling her what to do. She found the whole experience incredibly enjoyable. Speaking of enjoyable, she bought herself a full set of applicators and tried wearing real makeup for the first time. Applicators. Even she had to admit, though, that her overeager attempt came out awful. She looked better not wearing any, removing all of it. She sulked all the way to college. The day she realized she could tell who the freshman girls were from how well they dolled themselves up. Or that day. Looking around, she noticed that the newcomers had given themselves similar, amateurish makeup jobs. It was kind of funny. She found classrooms with the unassigned seating and long 90-minute lectures refreshing. She was nervous in the new environment, of course, but it no longer made her tremble or feel sick like in the past. Chisa? Chisa 102, aka Connor? Hello, beans indeed. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night. You are on this planet. Blue? You stop that. We're just reading. 5 simmers per second. She made friends without a hitch. She never had trouble finding lunch partners, nor did she get anxious if she wasn't with someone 24/7. She could have fun all by herself. Let's go. To put it simply, Akari felt fulfilled. Her closest friends at school was a girl named Nomiya. Though not called with a dispassionate gaze and a figure of a model, she took big, strong steps around campus, spoke like a member of the Yakuza, and wasn't afraid to curse out any boy who dared to approach her. Akari admired all these traits the moment she saw her. I have to become her friend. She followed Nomiya around until they became friends. Akari was pleasantly surprised with herself. Her child self would never have done that. About a year after starting college, she was passionately pursued by a guy from her entering class, and he became her first real boyfriend. Although he was interesting and generally fun to be around, their relationship ended after just half a year. I just can't say no when someone tells me they love me. She became aware of this side of her. When someone confessed his feelings for her, she'd think, "What? I don't love you at all." Soon, however, she wanted to consider it at least. She seemed to be wired that way. The guy had bothered to tell her, and it would be such a waste. Essentially, she suspected she was being like a hoarder. In this regard, Akari was the exact opposite of the guy like Nomiya, who gruffly rejected any boy she didn't like. "But Shino, you're not as girly as you seem," Nomiya observed. She'd taken to calling Akari by her first character of her family name. "You think?" "With you, looks are deceiving. You act like a girly girl, but are as straight as an arrow." "It's like archery for me?" No. They're trying to get as close to your ideal self as possible, like an Aztec. You probably don't even know you're doing it. You probably don't even know you're doing it. You sure about that? Though Akari tilted her head, Nomiya's words seemed to brush against some memory. "Waterworld, the world is sinking." Nomiya was the type to say strange things out of the blue. "What now?" "Well, there's two kinds of people. People who start swimming and they hustle to reach some sort of destination, and people who are good just floating there peacefully. Being at college, that became so clear to me. You're obviously a swimmer, Shino." Such a simple way to label people. While it was appallingly crude, the classification scheme made some sense to Akari. She found herself humming lightly in assent. I have to make it simple or else it'd be too hard to explain. You can split the groups, of course. Hell, there's two kinds of floaters. Those who are chillin', thinking that they're at a hot springs, and those who are struggling with weights around their ankles. So all things considered, I think you and I have got it pretty good, in terms of where we are, that is. Akari thought so too. At least she didn't have to struggle to keep things the way they were. By the way, there's also two kinds of swimmers. Okay, I'll bite. What are they like? Some know where they're going and are swimming to their destination, while others are blindly flailing in the water, trying to figure out where to go. If the swimmers with destination overdo it, though, they're pretty much the same as the floaters being dragged down by the weights. Their goals are different, but not their actions. Huh, you really think so? Our worlds seem to link into a circle. It's a ring world. In hindsight, this might have been Nomiya's way of warning Akari, who was in love at the time. Seriously in love, to put it mildly. The winter rain was pouring down. It wasn't because Akari had heard her acquaintance was getting married, but unwilling to feel driven by a game of association, she at least made sure to wait for a while before slowly making her way out of the lounge. She went through an outside corridor to another building on campus. When the cold air hit her, she could feel the chilly moisture seep into her hair. The office of the British and American literature professors lined the hallway. She saw that the lights were on in the room she was headed to, and a jolt that ran through her body felt almost magnetic. Since there was no answer when she knocked, she cracked open the door. The professor's eyes didn't leave his PC. Excuse me? May I come in? As long as you don't speak while I work. A tight, painful feeling seized her chest, but Akari took a deep breath and sat at the small sofa suite in front of his desk. The man continued typing away on his keyboard, not pausing even for a moment to think. He pictured the big hands hiding behind the monitor. The university allowed students to earn general education credits for taking a different department's core courses. As a sophomore, Akari had taken the history of British and American literature, an introductory course, and a seminar in translation. Seated before her was the instructor of those classes. More renowned as a translator than a scholar, she had a beautiful writing style. That was the initial reason Akari signed up for his class. Oh, my voice. Dead. Alright. Hopefully my voice is a little bit better. Test. Hello. Alright. Soon enough, however, she began to have a different reason. The man, who completely ignored her as if she were nothing but air as he worked, gave a unique vibe. For instance, in how he would crane his neck. The only way she could put it was that she loved it. There was no clear reason as to why. If she knew why she loved him, she might have quit him for good. Persuading herself that it was a bad reason would be the end of it. Without a reason, however, she was stuck on him. Without a reason, she suffered. It was all in her head, so why couldn't she stop? Come to think of it, though, you could never explain why you fell in love. Some things could be described in words, but not others. Naming the reason you love someone was a prime example of the latter. She seriously questioned all those magazine surveys that claimed kindness was the most desirable quality in the opposite sex. Akane, at least, had never fallen for a kind man, not even once. She didn't think that those surveys were fake. The majority of women must have answered that way, of course. Yet, she doubted that they had ever fallen for a guy because he was kind. He might have turned out to be kind. The respondents had to be falling in love for reasons they couldn't even understand or describe, and just replying, a kind man, because it was the safest option. That was probably it. If not, then, okay, do you have any questions for me? The man's hand made little waving motions, but not to greet Akari. He was just relaxing his muscles after tearing his hand away from the keyboard. Not really. Then why did you come? I can't stop by without a proper reason? That would be a waste of time for both of us. Why did you feel so deeply for him when he wasn't kind, let alone interested in her? You took care to sound as calm as possible. I find it hard to believe that you're too busy, even to chat for a little while. If I take the concentration I am using on this conversation and direct it somewhere else, I might have another brilliant insight. Anything that robs me of that possibility has to be seen as a waste of time. It's not a novel concept, you know. Maybe one day you understand. May I ask you a question then? Answering questions is part of my job. Have you thought about us since then? His expression remained unchanged. Honestly, not at all. Aren't you single, Professor? That is a private matter, but yes, I am. I heard you're not currently seeing anyone. That is also private information, but yes, that is true. Hypothetically, you might develop an interest in me due to our time together outside of class. What are your thoughts on that? It's possible, sure. However, I've already decided not to let it get to that point. I should be dedicating that time to other matters instead. Akari couldn't help but sigh. It was a painful exhalation that made her lungs itch. I know what it feels like to want to talk. Which is more important for you, love or work? That's merely a question of what interests you more at a given time. No proper answer exists. There will be cases where I am more interested in my work, and cases where I don't find a partner all that interesting. What is it that interests you so much? Gathering data, fully analyzing it, and creating new information. Through that process, I can heighten my skills. But other people fit into that process. They don't, in my case. Well, then what makes you happy? I don't live to find happiness. Those who do live empty lives. And a goal needs to be more specific. So your goal isn't to be happy? Right. You plan to live that way forever? Right. I don't think anyone can sympathize with that. Giving or receiving sympathy is meaningless. What? I don't think anyone's sympathy is worth anything. Logical argumentation and the absolute value it can return are what's universal. Alone and feeling out of it, Akari entered a cafe along a boulevard. She took her coffee black, unlike always. She wanted the bitter taste to counteract the bitterness in her heart. I don't need you in my life. In the end, that was what the instructor meant. It was the first time she'd been told such a thing, and so directly too. Well, maybe not the first time. Akari's past was lousy with rejection, even if it hadn't been put into words. There had been such a phase in her life. She rested her elbows on the table, put her hand on her forehead. Her umbrella, which she had propped against her chair, promptly slid to the floor. She felt doomed to a life of unrequited love. A melancholy song in triple meter suddenly began playing on the Usen radio, USEN. Akari knew the song. It was First Love by Mayumi Ujima. It was exactly the kind of song she didn't want to hear. She wanted to get up and leave, but didn't have the strength. It was the worst feeling imaginable. I miss you, she thought. Whom did she miss? I don't know. Alright, let me get up and stress. Stress? Stretch. Stretch, stretch. Lit. Sure. My butt. Pop, pop, pop. Oh, you stopped that soulful. About that chapter, huh? Was it that comment about people don't fall for kind people? I think it's kind of. I mean, obviously it's subjective. I feel like, I think for me at least. I mean, someone's kindness should not be the only defined. Should not be the only defining trait on them, or for them. Because otherwise it'll be, just boring. Like they're just kind. That's all they are. They're nothing else as a person. Because although you're kind, you don't if you don't have the same sense of humor as me, if you don't enjoy the things I do, all you are is kind, then yeah, that's probably not it. Both as a friend and romantically, but that's actually it. But yeah, that's why maybe kindness wouldn't be the first trait or the main trait I would consider, but it's definitely a very important and significant. But I would be looking at other things first, and if they're kind in the way they present themselves with those traits, then yeah, I'll probably be interested. And that's all I got. As for our college situation, I have no idea. But I don't know why. Because even she doesn't know. I don't know why she likes the professor. Even professor's like, I don't want you in my life. So I don't really. There must be some kind of reason, but I don't know. I don't know Akari. Maybe he's crazy hot or something. Yeah, Akari fell in love with her college professor. Shut. Done with my milk. What else about that chapter? That professor was a weird individual. I mean, we all have different goals in our life. My goal is pretty simple. Well, actually, it's simple in the sense that I just want to be happy. But what makes me happy is, it differs. Whether it's just playing games, reading, just living, honestly. Just living and just repeating my current life. day after day after day, I think that's fine. I'm super satisfied where I'm at right now. I just need a job. That's all I need. I need to find a job. Oh no 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 no. Ba, 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 ba. It's gonna be a short stream again. I'll probably just read for like another hour or like 40 minutes. I don't know. I'm gonna try to get at least to page 200, and then finish the book next week. All right, let's get back to it. Mofu, stay away from my money. Keep my money out of your freaking hand. And that's been memed so much. Oh no 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 no. Blue, you're richer than me. You stop that. Save your money. Invest better. Alright. 17. After a belated job hunt, Takagi somehow secured an entry position. It was already the end of autumn. A professor of his had managed to land him a job at a software development company in Mitaka City. The firm turned a profit by receiving orders, designing programs, and manufacturing and delivering the product. Takagi became a so-called systems engineer. In a narrow sense of the word, this meant working in both system design and marketing, but he also coded because the projects were small in scale. While the mid-sized company was not a household name, it was on a growth path and a highly regarded industry. Everyone said he was lucky for finding a way into the company. And Takagi knew it too. He was fortunate. Because there he learned that it was programming that suited him most. Having used a computer for his research in college, he understood the basics. At the company, however, he came to believe that the field had been made for him. Lucky was the only way to describe his chance meeting with his vocation. Hey guys, I hope we're doing well. Tofu, flat. He could immerse himself in his monitor behind the walls of his cubicle, take care of entire meetings just through email, and not waste time on monotonous small talk with his fellow employees. He liked it for those antisocial reasons too. But what was moving to him was that a functioning framework emerged when he tirelessly piled one description upon another and compiled those scripts. He never would have guessed that he was so suited to engineering. He buried himself in a box. His very existence was being transferred into the sequence of code he created. Where he tore off pieces of himself and packed them in the box, they began to function, to multiply, and to work on their own. He was getting drunk off that cycle. The computer on his desk seemed to exist in his own independent world. Beyond his monitor was an alternate universe that had different laws from reality. He reached into that universe and rearranged its contents to his liking. Through sheer willpower and hard work, he could give life to things that had never existed before. Before he was even aware of it, he started thinking of his job as building a tower on an empty field. Sometimes he imagined that he was creating fictional animals. He could bring things to life. The next time, he would make some things bigger. Something bigger. It was exhilarating. The pleasure and the satisfaction of mastering a new skill. Come up with an idea, make it a reality, refine yourself through that process. The future seemed so bright. No hug for me. No hug for me. But yes, I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well too. He was proud of his creations. He was making rapid progress and wasn't going to stop. He was moving forward. Amidst the daily repetition that got him higher, he wanted to go higher. A couple of years flew by while he was steeped into that notion. Before he knew it, he had become one of the most proficient employees at his company. While that fact brought him joy, he could sense the noise mounting around him. He tried as hard as to shake it off, to ignore it, but it was simply no use. More and more often, a company bottleneck prevented him from moving up. Being dragged down by his less skilled colleagues was excruciating. He tried to reach higher, but a ceiling blocked him, and there was a weight around his ankles. It was oppressive and suffocating. Nothing frustrated Takaki more than unmotivated employees and stalled projects. He learned something. The more incompetent the worker, the more they tended to deny that they were dead weight. In the end, that was what ineptitude meant. He was stuck behind a runner who was behind an entire lap. Get going. What do you even live for? At least don't hold me back. Some people are scared to take the shortest path. That was what Risa Mizuno said, with a soft sigh on one of the rare occasions Takaki opened up to her about his workplace irritations. I don't think this girl was in the movie. Most people purposely take the long road. They prefer to take their time, understanding things, dwelling on how tired their legs feel. A lot of people just can't accept what others tell them, even if it's true. They won't be convinced of anything unless they notice it themselves. This is the way things are. After she gently reproached him. Okay, so for this, a lot of people just can't accept what others tell them, even if it's true. They won't be convinced. This is so hard for me, because unless it's a scientific fact, I always doubt myself, and I always worried if I'm getting gaslighted by someone or not. So this is really hard for me. It's not like a black and white thing, like a yes or no thing. It's tough. But if it's more something that can actually be proven like logically or scientifically, then that's a different story. But like something that's more like opinionated, I think it's a bit difficult to just simplify it to this. Ineptitude. Yusofu? Boy, don't attack me, Kaiser. Sorry, I hit the mic for a bit. After she gently approached him, reproached him, the tension went out of him, and he felt much better. Risa's voice? Wait, hold up. Risa's voice and words seemed to have that mysterious effect upon returning to work. And of course, various things would irritate him all over again. Still, Takaki wondered why there was such a touch of sadness in her face when she spoke that way. Oh gosh darn, Sofu. Hey, I you apologize. Or you don't need to apologize. Because I know you said that in the beginning. But you know, I'm also like, wait, but what if Sofu's right this time? It's like the boy who cried wolf again. There's a boy who cried wolf. Mr. Tono, from Systems, right? That was how Risa approached Takaki on a platform in Shinjuku Station. He would later then look back on it as being quite uncharacteristic of her. In his estimation, she wasn't the type to accost a mere acquaintance on the street. You can stop asking now? Honestly, I probably don't even remember. Hey, Kermit. Hope we're doing well. Yes, he answered, somewhat taken aback. He assumed only posters or salespeople even ever approached him on the street, so he was surprised to hear someone mention his last name and company. It took a few seconds to remember who she was. The small lapse of time was just long enough to make Takaki miss his train. He was simply heading home after seeing a movie, though. Lisa worked at a client company of Takaki's and was the assistant of the man who handled his account. The only interaction Lisa and Takaki had ever had was at a brief meeting where they had exchanged business cards. Takaki could never go up to someone he barely knew on the street. Her calm manner of approaching him piqued his interest. While perhaps sexist, he also thought it was rare for a young woman to spend her free time wandering the streets of Shinjuku alone on a weekend. Because the benefit of the doubt, I do. I always give everyone and myself the benefit of the doubt. Myself, I'm a bit more harsh on myself, but like usually, if it's something like more serious, usually I just say, you know, give me time, let me just self-reflect, and I'll get back to you in a bit if like I can't handle it. But unless I have a pretty negative impression of you, may not even, if I have a negative impression of you, because that's pretty hard to do in my opinion. If I have a negative impression of you, then I probably won't give you benefit of the doubt, and I'll probably be biased against you, to be honest. But most people here, I either have a neutral impression of you or a good impression of you. So chances are I'll probably always give you the benefit of the doubt. Like maybe if you like message, if you like say something pretty inappropriate, like and I delete it, I'll probably be like, oh sorry, that wasn't, I don't think that was inappropriate. I deleted it, but I know you have good intentions. You're alright. You're good. Like that's all I do. if I have a good impression of you. If I don't have a good impression of you, then I'll probably delete it, ask you why, or just time you out. I'm a bit more harsh in that regard. But yeah, it just depends on. Honestly, impressions really matter a lot to me. I do. I don't treat everyone the same. I am very selective. Selective? Is that the right word? I'm very biased. I mainly treat people kind of accordingly to how they treat me. If they're like a very formal or serious person, then I'll probably be the same towards them. If they're kind of meme-ish, easygoing, I might be the same to them. I'll probably be the same to them too. Just stuff like that. And if you're a bit crude, I don't know if I'll be crude too, but I might be a bit more bland. Alright. What are you reading? And I forgot where I was. He politely invited her to join him for tea, and Lisa accepted with a nod and a smile. That smile was still burned on the back of his mind. They left through the east exit and talked over tea for 2 hours at the Omokage Cafe. There wasn't a single pause in their conversation the entire time. Takaki thought it might be the longest he'd ever been absorbed in any conversation. They spoke with great passion. They had the same passion on many topics. While they didn't always see eye to eye, Takaki respected Lisa's logical, well-grounded takes even when he didn't fully agree with her. She was thoughtful and responsive, as it had been ages since he had shared his views like that. He'd want to talk to someone but never realized it. That, or even trying to convince himself that he didn't want to talk to anyone at all. Takaki talked until his throat hurt. He used to think that talking your throat sore was an unrealistic line invented by celebrities to brag about how much they spoke. And now he knew that could actually happen. All it had taken to get him to talk was someone who understood him. Not this part was relatable, but more so, you wanted to talk to someone but never realized it, and like this part, I didn't want to. Like before streaming, I was alone most of the time. Maybe like a random blue here and there, a random stinker here and there, but I was alone most of the time, just reading, just chilling. I was so satisfied with that. I didn't care. But then I started streaming, started talking. I became so much more social because of streaming. As in, like, I'm actually talking to people. Maybe not RL, but online. And it's also just as fun. And I enjoy it. I don't regret the time that I've been alone, chilling and reading, but it's just that I never really would have thought that I would like enjoy talking to other and more people. That's it. Alright. It was the most fulfilling, refreshing, and fun couple of hours he had enjoyed in a number of years, or so he felt. There was one development that troubled him though. Takaki was playing a guessing game about Lisa. If you think that you can guess correctly, by all means, she assented playfully. She most likely underestimated his intuition. He silently gazed at the woman, who looked quite lovely in her glasses as she played with her straw across the table. Mofu, why give me that eye? Also referring to you, I'm poking your eyes. Takaki had a knack for telling if a person had siblings even if they had just met. Just from talking, he could also guess, 8 times out of 10, whether someone was the eldest or youngest child, and whether there were any siblings of the opposite sex. No older sister, no younger sister either. She doesn't seem like she was raised with another girl around her age. No younger brother, given the way she's interacting with me, a guy. Bad RNG, Mofu. If you're not an only child, you have a brother who's a lot older than you. It was a shot in the dark, but the moment he said it, she became visibly upset. He seemed to have infringed on some serious private matter. Lisa tried to hide her distress, and she did so quite well. One might say Takagi, however, was too accustomed to seeing through such facades. He judged her to be the type who concealed various secrets beneath the surface. Correct, Lisa replied, faking a smile. She didn't say which of his statements. I'm guessing you're a people person? She asked. Takagi just smiled. It was the exact opposite. He was neither interested in nor attached to any individual, which was why he fitted them into patterns. Yet he took a strong interest in Risa, a woman he had only invited to tea on a whim. Once he identified with her aura of trying to hide something. It seemed like she was desperately averting her own eyes. Perhaps it aroused in him a sense of solidarity. They exchanged phone numbers and email addresses. Since then, they started meeting up almost every week. This guy's like a robot. God dang it, Sofa. I would really like to see your place, Takagi said after one of their several dates. Sure, Risa agreed. Wait, I would really like to see your place. Mofu Sasimo. What the heck? Her apartment was as neat as a showroom. She seemed to be trying to keep her furniture to a minimum, which made her medium-sized room look rather large. While I could only guess at the time, she also seemed to have crammed all of her sundries behind the lower doors of her walked-in closet. The walls were white, and all the furniture and fittings were made of wood. The walnut-colored flooring was properly waxed, and the kitchen was sparkling clean despite regular use. Lisa cooked her own meals every day, as Takagi learned later. It was more of a ritual than a routine. You could see that she put a lot of effort into organizing her space. This is the total opposite of my sloppy lifestyle, he thought. While the bureau, chairs, and beds were antiques, she did not own a sofa or a low table. In other words, she hadn't expected guests when she had set up her room. After Takagi started making frequent visits, she bought a low table and cushions. Oh, he liked the look of her place. That room is very telling about one's temperament. After all, and hers gave him a positive impression. He found her place quite cozy. During his first visit, he suddenly wanted to see how it might feel working there. Would you mind if I worked a bit? He asked, taking out his laptop. She seemed surprised, a little angry, and quite disgusted. After that, the rest of her emotions and resigned started appearing on her face. Fine, go ahead, she said, rather half-heartedly. Watching Takagi happily type away on his keyboard, however, seemed to improve her mood. Wait, I'm so confused on why this made her angry in the first place. Are y'all gonna leave for another week just because of this? Oh, because I was like, it's getting all lovey-dovey. I'm sorry, Sofu. Oh shit, I think some people followed. Hold up, I need to check. Ano XXX, thank you for the follow. It was 26 minutes ago, not sure we're still here. 9 Steppa, thank you for the follow. Sorry, I don't have alerts on when I do the reading. Alright. Takagi never felt more relaxed working than the brief time he did so in Risa's apartment. He rarely ever hummed as contentedly as he did that day. I was surprised, I still can't believe it. It was after they had slept together on a few occasions that she said this. For the longest time, I thought no one would ever love me. I never imagined I'd be able to touch or be touched by someone like this. I always thought I'd live my whole life unloved. Looks like you were wrong. Hey, this sounds like a very similar thing. Is this Takagi talking? No, she said it. It felt like Takagi said this at one point too, or was it Akari? My whole life unloved sounds so similar to what Akari says. Looks like you were wrong. Can I touch you a little more? The nervous way she stroked his cheek felt so new to him, but also invoked a strange sense of deja vu. For your body, he is so calming. How your bones feel too. Wait, I'm getting embarrassed reading this. What the heck? Same here. A fleeting flashback that vanished almost as soon as it came made him concur. Yusa was stunned by the chaotic state of his room. Can I tie up a bit? She requested. No. Tofu, I'm sorry that you're seeing this. Oh wait, I need to adjust my OBS a bit. Alright, there we go. Somehow over the years, Takai had lost the ability to keep his space clutter-free. He found the process of putting each and every object back in the assigned position a complete waste of time. If anyone ever cleaned up his place, he probably wouldn't be able to find a thing. This is Mofu's room. Why do you have this stuff? Lisa asked from the kitchen. It was tidy here, only because it went unused. He was holding a pair of scissors in her right hand and a yakishime teacup in her left. She seemed puzzled as to why he owned such a high-quality kitchenware when he didn't even cook. Ah, those. They're from Tanegashima. There was a brand new knife from Tanegashima under the sink, but he had never used it. He had bought it with him when he moved to Tokyo. I lived in Tanegashima until I graduated high school. Tanegashima, the place famous for having the first guns in Japan? Right, the one with the guns. I didn't know you were raised on an island, Takagi. You don't give off an island vibe at all. Well, I didn't really grow up there. I moved there when I was in my second year of junior high, but they make really nice blades on the island, so I guess I'm spoiled in that department. Tanegashima's in Kagoshima, right? Right. You don't seem like someone from the southern islands, just judging from your image, that is. What's my image? Somewhere more up north, where it snows. Takagi smiled. Lisa handed him the cup, which he then placed on a plate on the table. The water on the stove still needed a bit more time to boil. Laughing as my room is a messy oi. Don't worry, I'm bleeding my ears will stop soon. I'm sorry. Lisa's low-fee about tying up. Just low-fee about tying up my... Oh, what the heck? Honestly, true. It depends how untidy it is. If it's super untidy, where walking is a problem, or there's no desk space when there could be so much more desk space, I'll probably smack Mofu and then just clean up everything. So it depends how bad it is, Mofu. If it's not too bad, if it's a pretty reasonable amount, then I probably won't care. Yeah, that is how it is. Yo, Mofu. I'm so disappointed in you. Yeah, my room is super... I wouldn't say it's clean, it's more empty. It has two... Wait, doesn't it have two? Yeah, it has two nightstands. Each of them barely have anything. It's just my glasses, wallet, phone, some box and books, but nothing messy. That's really it. That's all my room has. And a closet wardrobe, but you can't get that messy. My computer desk is a bit more untidy, but barely. It's just random snacks, or random snacks on the table. I have this. I have two of these. What are these? Ferrero Rochers? I have this on my desk. But other than that, it's not really dirty or untidy. I try on 5 outfits before I leave the house, but I throw all the clothes outside against it. You do. Oh, is that so? You just where you always saw that. But yummy, yeah, I like those. Wait, they are expensive? I think they're pretty cheap. Well, my mom got it for free. My mom got it from her coworker that gave her half a box for free. I don't know why though. I've been in Costco, yeah. Sofu. Costco is bussin'. Is that so? How much would it be in USD, Mofu? Then maybe I can decide whether it's pricey or not. But then again, I never really buy Ferrero Rocher, so I don't know the price of that. Just that's pretty common here. Or people wouldn't call it expensive here. Let me check. Alright. Are you reading? Tanegashima is red, just like this cup. Red? How? Is the soil, huh? All the soil on the island? The soil is red for the same reason blood is. There's tons of iron in the ground. That's why all Tanegashima pottery is red. The island used to be a major steel producer back in the day. Actually, I think it still is. And they also make knives there? Yeah, never heard of Tanegashima knives? They're really famous. Can't say I have. They even used to call muskets Tanegashimas, but the fact that the first ones were brought here isn't a real reason. It's actually because Tanegashima used to be a major producer of them. Takaki felt a bit sentimental as he spoke. It's not Tadaki, it's Takaki, I see. Looking back on his life, on it now, life on the island really wasn't so bad. Not that thinking so now changed a thing. Lisa slept over that night, listening to her breathe in her sleep with her forehead nudged against his shoulder. He found it quite strange. A defenseless... what am I reading? A defenseless woman was sleeping beside him. He had never really imagined this situation. Why are you thinking like this? He had been in a few relationships, but no one had ever been quite like this. Risa completely let her guard down. What the? Yo, you let your guard down, evil Patrick face. She left herself so vulnerable that Takaki wondered if she was okay. He didn't know what people could let others in as much as she let him in. He was astonished. No one had ever slept next to him so peacefully in all his life. Her breathing sounded like the ebbing tide. For a short while, Takaki enjoyed the nostalgic illusion of being enveloped by the island's air. Okay, it was... the intention wasn't creepy, but... or... the description was creepy. I think he's a good dude, I think. He just described it in a very weird way. What the heck? Oh shoot, I can't just do this anymore. It's gonna fold. I'll let me drink water. Oh no, don't read the ending. Why we're like I don't know. The guy's a robot. Yo, she let her guard down and finally used my ultimate move on her. One turn kill. Oh, sorry, let me read chat. I take my grandmother to Costco and I got scolded by people there because my grandma cut everyone's line and grabbed like 5 stuff from the sample. Hey, what the heck? I mean, yeah, cutting in line is... cutting in line is shameless. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said it like that. Cutting in line is shameless unless you have a good reason to do so. She doesn't believe in lines? Okay, well, I don't think that's good enough reason. Around 2-3 USD a piece? Oh, that's really expensive. What the heck? For me, like at convenience stores, Mofu, 3 of these is around 3 USD. Like a pack of 3, at convenience stores. You get wrecked, Mofu. We're being scammed. Get wrecked. No one ever slept peacefully next to him because he... you may not mean to be good, but I'm scared. I'll be scared to describe like that too. If he said to someone or said to her like, you know, nobody ever slept next to me with such a peaceful expression, or like as if like usually they aren't peaceful around him. You're right. That's mad sus. Yeah, she just does it. Oh no. We'll forget wrecked. I mean, to be honest, I'm not a fan of... actually, I guess I'm not a fan of chocolate that much in general. I love dark chocolate, but... I mean, this isn't dark chocolate, but... I'm not really that big of a fan of chocolate in general. Almond chocolate, or just chocolate nuts, is really nice, but... I'm not a fan of these. I mean, they're alright, but like, I wouldn't ever buy them. I just have these because my mom got it for free from her coworker. Mofu, no. Alright. Oh gosh, what time is it actually? 3:02. Okay, I think just 30 more minutes and I can finish 10 more pages and I'll just call it. And then next Thursday, I'm gonna finish the book. Oh, stop. No! Not like that. Alright. How's your streaming day? My stream's been doing well. We're just chilling. We're just reading. Hey, Dashie, hope we're doing well. That's how dude talks. Honestly, that is, you might be right. 15. To put it mildly, Akari had a very tough time finding a job. It was a time when so this is switching back to Akari, the girl. When the economy was said to be in a 10-year recession, it seemed like every company had become extra selective in hiring new graduates. The winds of change were especially chilly to girls who had studied literature and didn't have any special skills. The professors and the mood around her had warned her how tough it would be to get a job, so she had at least been prepared. She ran around, going from orientation session to interview, and applied to every job that she could. Whoever said that college is a 4-year moratorium? Akari had never been so exhausted in her life. Passing the college entrance exam was 1,000 times easier than finding a job. Eventually, a bookstore chain with large outlets in Tokyo hired her. The company wasn't the #1 leader in its industry, but an adequate enterprise that competed for the number 2 or 3 spot. At first, Akari worked as a shop clerk. Surrounded by thousands of books every day, she felt that her workplace was close to ideal. By the time she had gotten used to folding book covers, organizing the bookshelves using the cash register, and interacting with customers, she found that a year had flown by. After 2 years at an outlet, her request to move to a different department was approved, and she promptly began training to become a buyer. She didn't just work with books because she loved them, she also wanted to try selling them as a proper form of business. She started perusing weekly gossip and boys magazines, and through genres of books she did not care for at all. Wolf was wink-walking right now to this. She put her personal preferences aside and thought about these items' market appeal. She also thought about the people who needed them. After she made some terrible slip-ups and harshly reprimanded, she couldn't get back on her feet for quite some time. Nevertheless, her love for books and reading was never waned. Her work wasn't all fun and games, but it was fun just the same. You managed to get Isaac. No, you're weak on 2. Well, both are getting bonked. Oh, you're charging your card? No, Stofu! Actual scammed. She was simply happy to work with books and to be surrounded by them in her workplace. Sending her favorites out into the world brought her great joy. After Akari transferred departments, her network grew significantly. In store, she had dealt with the general public, but after going into purchasing, she began to handle a lot more people who have names and faces. In that sense, her current post actually expanded her horizons. She met someone after becoming a buyer. He was a sales rep for a publisher. Oh, there's a new person, so she moved on from the professor. As a member of the working world, Akari had noticed that nearly all salespeople exude a certain unique energy. She figured it was because being assertive and bluffing was essential to their job. It seemed that many salesmen donned the image of being a go-getter like armor. While she didn't work in sales herself, she worried that it might really tire one out. It's exhausting, it really is, the man admitted. I mean, the whole salesman act isn't natural at all. I've learned that tricks of the trade and now do it without thinking. Of course, but it's like a jam-packed train. Even if you get used to it, it tires you out. She found it amusing that he has the image of, yes, I can, when she saw him at work, but was completely laid back when they met up in private. She also liked how he seemed to have a good upbringing and didn't seem greedy. He was honestly more of a goofball than she expected. It wasn't a bad thing, in fact. She was really fond of his absent-mindedness. She was glad he wasn't stuck in business mode all the time. A guy like that would have certainly worn her out. I bet you do well in love, Miss Shinohara? He told her he imagined she had plenty of wonderful relationships in the past. What the? Do people actually say that? Do people like go up to him like, I bet you have wonderful romantic relationships. Or even, I bet you have a wonderful past in general. Oh, that's not true. Why? And you sound flattered too. Well, I think it just might be. He added that naturally she must have had some rough experiences as well. But I'm sure those experiences made you into a lovely person you are today. That's the feeling I get from you. What the heck? I mean, I guess they've met up multiple times already, so I don't know how close they actually are, but that's kind of weird. Maybe. Is it weird? I don't socialize. Heck no. Okay, never mind. Does he honestly think that some sweet words will win me over? She thought. But being common like that frankly didn't feel all that bad. I've never flirted in my life, so I don't know how I would flirt. Just this, but this seemed weird to me. Oh my god, I guess me later, please give a counsel. Gosh darn it, so full. I would probably just go up and be like, hey, what kind of memes do you like? And then they were like, and then they wouldn't know what memes are, and I would just cry. Oh, he's so full. I hate your use of default Twitch emotes. Why does it make me laugh? Takaki and Lisa had been dating for 2 years. Since both of them had busy jobs, they always met at night. As soon as it grew dark outside his office windows, Takaki thought about Lisa. They would email each other, meet somewhere to dine, and have a few drinks. That was their usual routine. They sat at the counter of a bar in Nakano called the Shanghai Doll, which has since shut down. Takaki always ordered whiskey, while Lisa either got a brandy sour or a time warp cocktail. What were you like when you were young, Takaki? I was a pretty average kid. You're joking. Well, I did change schools a lot. Because of your parents were? Yeah. Wait. I feel like... What were you like when you were younger, Takaki? I feel like there's a question you asked like in like the first year or the first half month maybe? But after 2 months, or after 2 years, I feel like it's a weird thing you didn't know about their childhood, I think, isn't it? It's so good, it's very good. Risa glanced at the lit up multicolored bottles of booze. I'm a little jealous. I always wish I could transfer school, she murmured. Why's that? I mean, you get a clean slate, right? You can clear your image, your reputation, everything. All I ever wanted was a second chance. It's a lot tougher than you think. How so? Well, you have to make sure you get into fully formed relationships as an outsider. You know, there was this girl who transferred into my class when I was in elementary school. She's really pretty, and really, really popular. A lot of kids envied her, but most of them really liked her. Never saw her let her guard down, did you? Huh? Well, no, probably not. You must have a good head on her shoulders. Deep down, she must have always been on edge. Were I like that, too? Maybe. I'm not sure how other people saw me. You weren't bullied, were you? No, not really. When you change school again and again, you kind of learn how you blend in after a while. As they walked home side by side that night, Lisa said, I'm really shy about meeting people. Same. I know. So I wondered why I felt so calm with you from the beginning. Hooking arms with Takaki, she leaned her upper body against him. Oh, what am I gonna do? I really love you, Takaki. I really love you, Takaki. Yo, this is me. I'm that Squidward meme right now where I'm looking out the window and seeing SpongeBob and Patrick like raising their arms up outside. That's me right now. He could only respond with an embarrassed smile. Despite the scent of her skin and her hair brushing his neck, he kept walking, his eyes focused straight ahead. His embarrassed smile was just a pretense. He should have said, I love you, too. For some reason, he couldn't. Gosh darn, I hate this guy. Something was up with Lisa. Takagi sensed it the very first time he met her, and the impression stayed with him for 2 years? What is wrong with you? I'm just modding, don't mind me. What was burning her revealed itself without warning. Late one night at Takaki's apartment, she began sobbing in her sleep like a little child. Wait, I think this was in the movie. He woke up with a start. What's wrong? He turned over in bed and touched her shoulder, as if that had activated some kind of switch. She curled herself into a ball and screwed up her face as she cried. I had a dream about my older brother. Alright, the older brother. He was standing on the train platform. She squeezed out breathlessly between her hysterical sobs. Takaki sat up and gazed down at her. She had pulled the covers close and wrapped her arms around herself as though to suppress her convulsions. Her big brother? Takaki went into the kitchen and fetched her some cold mineral water. He sat her up, but she couldn't even gulp down the water. He just watched in silence. What else could he do? For a long time, she continued to take small hiccups of breath. He didn't ask anything. With her hand against her forehead, Risa unexpectedly began to speak in a trembling voice. Between trembling exhalations, she was talking to herself more or less, and there were many parts that Guy couldn't comprehend, but he came to understand a few things. When Risa was in her second year of junior high, her older brother had jumped off the platform into an oncoming train. It was assumed to be suicide. After that, it was all over. Everything went to hell. The gears powering her went out of whack. Abruptly, the circuits that had helped her get along with her peers and navigate her environment fell apart. From that point on, she had trouble fitting in wherever she was. She talked about the bitter loneliness of school, about the days when no one would look at her. Just listening to her trembling voice recount all this froze Takagi to the core. He recalled what a co-worker of his, Hasagawa, had once told him. The death of an older brother means something different to his younger siblings compared to any other death in the family. Since Hasagawa worked in human resources, he consoled employees when they were bereaved. Though that experience, he had noticed that among the death of siblings, and older brothers was the most damaging. Sometimes employees suffering a death in the family had trouble getting back on their feet to the point that their work suffered. More often than not, in those cases, the deceased wasn't a parent, sister, or younger brother, but an older brother. Takagi didn't have any siblings and had taken Hasagawa's word for it, or rather, hadn't felt entirely convinced. Wouldn't the level of suffering be the same no matter which sibling passed away? But now, Takagi suspected that his colleague was right. According to Hasagawa, an older brother was probably closer to his sibling than their parents and a bigger role model. He was tasked with balancing out the family. Lisa was weeping bitterly in the field position, her chest still shaking. With every experience of a loved one's death, the survivor settled deeper into reality, as if gravity had strengthened by that much. Takagi was mature enough to understand that. He thought back on the deaths of a few people he'd known, and felt like he'd taken on a little more weight gain. He remained silent, unable to speak. The fluorescent light's white noise droned in his ears and numbed his head. Lisa was crying her eyes out because of a dream she had about her older brother. He couldn't do anything. He didn't know what to do. He needed to cradle her head in his arms and tell her she was going to be okay. He really ought to have. That some back would have alleviated her pain. Why couldn't he do that much? And what was it that her brother had found beyond the platform? Alright. I don't know if I should comment on that. That's kind of tough. Am I just gonna joke before that sad part? OMG? Sofu, what the heck? SMH Sofu. Kick W. Next time Takagi met with Lisa, she behaved like none of it had ever happened. If she was suffering inside, she appeared unfazed on the surface. Seeing this, he pretended not to have seen nor heard anything that night, and just spoke to her normally. The only difference was that he was gentler when he reached out to touch her. He was busier with work than ever before. On top of being skilled, he was passionate. So he naturally received outstanding evaluations. As things, he got assigned to some other stalled projects that needed him, and the cycle continued. Without complaining, he burrowed through as if he were a drill digging a new metro tunnel. Eventually, he got stuck with the much feared, slowest moving project in the company. Initiated before Takagi ever joined the developer, no one knew where it was going and when it would end. It was like digging a hole to fill up another hole. The goal was to create flat ground, but it seemed entirely impossible. Takagi entirely chipped away at it. OG, rip. I mean, I lost 50-50 too, but I didn't really care. But dang, that's unfortunate, OG. So damn heavy, he muttered. He was referring to the program he was processing, but his words shot through his body. His body felt heavy. He picked up the paper Starbucks cup and drank from it. He couldn't taste anything. He reclined in his chair and straightened his back. Oops, Takagi thought. It's not mental or physical fatigue, so what is it? He stared up at the white ceiling. Carelessly enough, his neck tendon strained. What is this? He searched for the right word. So damn painful, he muttered. Yes, right answer. Why is it so painful? He shut his eyes, he took deep breaths. Then he tried to sense his surroundings. Around just him, gravity felt a lot heavier than one planet was this. It was going to keep getting heavier. He could feel it. He wouldn't be able to move. It was getting tied down for sure. I see. I won't get pinned down and it's painful. To where? To here. Right. He hadn't noticed. Or remember pretending not to notice. He felt like he was being forced to decelerate here. He'd become much faster than this place a good while ago. Everything around was too heavy, too slow. If he didn't escape now, he wouldn't be able to get out. He needed to escape as soon as he could. He forced his eyes open. He knew this place was no good for him. He was in a swamp. If he didn't drag his legs forward, he would sink. This was bad. If he didn't wrap the project up soon, he would never be able to swim his way out. The program had the wrong victory conditions. Its destination was wrong. It needed to be reset and downsized so its vectors could be aligned. Multiple engines were revving in different directions, and their force didn't have a central axis. Takagi began typing ferociously, and in just half a day he completed a drastic revision plan. He may have been overstepping his duties, but he had no other choice. He ran a program using the new methodology. He submitted the comparative data to his immediate superior. Takagi explained that their previous method would get them nowhere. Their efforts would simply stall and disintegrate in midair. Perhaps he didn't use the right words. His proposal was flat rejected. This was no joke. It drove Takagi crazy to know that he was aboard a sinking vessel. He could either plug the leaks and rescue the destination before it sank, or just jump ship. He figured that he would be better off swimming. He went one rung higher in the company and met with the director of operations, to whom he submitted the same proposal for a change in policy. The man's answer was blunt: just do your work and don't cause any trouble. Takagi stubbornly experimented with his own method, created data that compared efficiency levels, and submitted his findings to a few other bosses. He didn't receive positive responses. It was hopeless. Please make your decision. Takagi's face was expressionless when he uttered those words to the director of operations one day. The man could either revise the policy or take Takagi off the project. If the director refused to pick either option, Takagi would quit. It was a threat that was understood as such. They took issues with his maneuver, but the executive discussed the matter and eventually decided to adopt Takagi's plan. He was a bit relieved that some of the brass could make a logical decision. Without them, Takagi would have quit without a trace of remorse. The superior who initially rejected his plan was transferred to a different department. The entire project team was placed under Takagi. For all intents and purposes, he held several meetings and started taking the project forward at a previously unthinkable speed. But I'm like, yeah, because I can't afford it. I see. That was deeply satisfying, but only at the beginning. Having forced out his own boss, Takagi had drawn his workplace in towards himself. He needed to take responsibility. It made sense. I didn't expect as much. Files of all sorts started to pile onto his desk. Responsibilities he had never handled before began to hang over his head. For example, he never had to make a group of people with different personalities work as a team. As self-centered as it sounded, he found dealing with their quirks extremely annoying. He had to calibrate their relationship, fill out approval forms, and handle other busy work. Meanwhile, it was a marvel how the project accelerated and kept on accelerating. The company seemed extremely satisfied. Every time Takagi turned in one of the project's progress reports, upper management showered him with compliments, saying that he was doing a fantastic job and that he had been right all along. Yet, tons of dead weight now hung off Takagi, and he was losing speed. He tried imagining that the weight wasn't there. He didn't want to accept that he was slow. While the tiresome chores only mounted, he refused to reduce the daily workload he set for himself. When he visited Lisa, often he would just work there. On a few occasions, he kept going for hours, forgetting her presence, before begging, asking her about her day. Looking back on it, perhaps he totally lacked the capacity to appreciate those little everyday things. He hardly ever complained to Lisa about work. The first time he ever did, she had urged him to. Even if you don't want to talk about it, you really should. Why is she insisting? Talking about it wasn't going to fix anything. Letting it all out might make him feel better. And even if it didn't, the listener could pretend to get it and relax. He understood how that system worked. But Takagi didn't think that way. Why don't you try a little harder to show how you feel, she said. If I look happy, people can feel at ease. If I look unhappy, people can worry. In other words, it sounded like it was everyone else's problem, not his. It wasn't his interiority, but that of the others around him was an issue in the proposition. Takagi Tono should try to show his feelings. Frankly, he couldn't care less. I don't get it. I don't get his thinking. If they let him, he wanted to deal with his emotions himself. I think I get it now, Lisa said. Dark, empty floor, he started up his computer and began typing furiously. His face gleaming blue from the monitor's black light. He typed so fast that he startled himself. Wait, did I read that? Did I skip a page? Oh, I did skip a page. Okay, I was like, wait, why is it that? I think I get it now, Lisa said. What? You told me once that changing schools didn't phase you at all. Right. You're pretty much blending with your surroundings, uh-huh. Was that because you didn't mind being misunderstood? She's probably right, Takaki thought. It was easy pretending to be a wonderful person if someone didn't matter to him. There's only a scent, Risa said. All that's left, she went on mumbling to herself, is a scent of something important, something vital in you. Someone took it away. That's why all I can hear is my sigh echoing in an empty treasure chest. That's her core lines. Late into the night, Takaki dreamt about his childhood. It was a miserable dream where the kids in class were put into teams, but only he was left out. He woke up feeling sad. It felt like a paintbrush was grazing against his heart. Had that occurred in real life, he couldn't remember. Actually, that definitely happened when he was young. Back when he was very young. As Takaki washed his face and drank some of the tap water, which faintly smelled of chlorine, while he was at it, a thought crossed his mind. I wonder if that ever happened to Risa. It must have. He was almost positive. Why are you asking me that? She would make a sad face and probably say that if he did ask her. He could picture it vividly, down to the tone of her voice. Huh, yeah, that's kind of weird to ask. Maybe? Not really, I think. He was clearly figuring out everything about her. It was only natural in a serious relationship. You understood your partners, and your partner understands you. Problem is, I don't think y'all like that trauma that Lisa has, and Takagi not willing to talk about with her, and she's not willing to explain it to him. Like, at least talk it out that she's not comfortable talking about it. At least understand that maybe and get that out, but that's not even brought up. I don't know if I agree with this. At least for them. Phrases he once heard, Lisa mumbling to herself, entered his head out of the blue. Someone took it away, an empty treasure chest. His past, which he had sealed away at the bottom of his memory, was being excavated. Oh, man, he's edgy. Feet. Wait. It's feet. I'm in fear. Oh no. His dark past. Feet. Shoot. I don't remember that's feet. Oh no. I swear I wasn't thinking about feet during that moment. Okay, that's kinda... I was so serious too. I was like, feet. And, oh wait, this, like, the R looks like a T, okay? But wouldn't it make sense? I was like, F-E-A-T, feet? Well, why though? Read that again. His past, which he had sealed away at the bottom of his memory, was being excavated. Fear. Why? Not knowing was what scared him. Feet. Why? Not knowing what was what scared him. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to stay here. His reflection in the bathroom mirror said, assuming any mask in someone else was something he wanted to avoid. The guy in the mirror spoke again. I want to go somewhere. He went out in the middle of the night. There were still a few hours left until morning. He walked through the residential area. The street lamps were his only source of light. There wasn't any stars. There weren't any stars. Aggie, wait, isn't it pretty late for you, Aggie? Go sleep. No, I'm sorry, guys. For a moment, he was confused why the streets were odorless. Why was there no smell? Why didn't he smell a blend of green leaves and sea and dirt in the wind? Well, duh, this was Tokyo. Takagi felt terribly off balance. He came to a boulevard. There, he hailed a cab and headed to the office. He went to the security and putting the passcode at the back entrance. His co-workers left to boast that companies never slept, that no one was there at the hour, switching on just the fluorescent lights above his workspace. On the dark, empty floor, he started up his computer and began typing furiously, his face gleaming blue from the monitor's backlight. He typed so fast that he startled himself. He was getting drunk off the pace and the rhythm of his fingers. Faster or something in him. Hurry up. If he didn't, it was going to get him. A hand would reach for his shoulders, unless he was running fast. It was scary. Yo, I'm out of it. I'm starting to read. I'm starting to see different words in the reading. I need to go to sleep. He didn't know what he was afraid of, but knew that he needed to run faster, farther. But the farther he ran, the more tangled his body became. The more wind resistance he faced, it was trying to knock him down. Failure was proof of weakness. He couldn't tolerate such weakness. He had to be strong and always be okay.